Before my group member and I proceed on, we would like to greet you all in our own way of greeting. Our topic that we're gonna base our discussion on, or our case study that we will discuss with you guys, is based on telecommuting and co-working communities. Working from home, not the only option. The contents of our presentation are as shown here. The first slide is the introduction, followed by the background of the case study, findings for question 1, 2, and 3, conclusion, recommendation, and reference list. But before we move on to our first slide, I have a question that I want to ask you guys. Is some of you come across with the word telecommuting and what it means? Okay, I think you guys already met with this word or heard about it because most companies or business was encourage their workers to use telecommuting or to work from their home in order to reduce the absence of their employees during this pandemic. Okay, here are some definitions of telecommuting and co-working that my group member and I get during our research. Telecommuting, also known as working remotely, way away working, working from home, mobile work, remote job, work from anywhere, and flexible place, is a work arrangement in which employees do not commute or travel to a central place of work. For example, by bus, Pasco, or car. This definition conveys that employees doesn't need to go to their workplace every day. Co-working is an arrangement in which employees from different companies share a meeting rooms, allowing for efficiencies and convenience through the use of shared facilities such as equipment, utilities, receptionists, and custodial services, and in some cases, refreshment and parcel acceptance services. This presentation objectives are to discuss the problems for virtual workers of telecommuting and identify ways of how virtual employers address them. To explain why traditional organizations possible to create their own co-working spaces and give some challenges that would be encourage people to use it. And the last one is to identify ways that organizations help telecommuting workers, such as ESTA, from feeling excluded and isolated, even though they are not physically coming into work every day. Here is our case study summarization. The case study was based on telecommuting and the co-working communities. Esther was a worker at the telecommuting companies working from home since a company moved from Australia to Singapore. She was good carrying a job, but after a few years, she felt left off or excluded as she missed her fellow workers. Also, she was have 2 children. Then she looked for other options apart from working from home. And after good browsing, she then found the Space Cube. She found out that Space Cube was created in March 2012, and by December 2012, Space Cube has recruited 260 members. Space Cube created a co-working communities, which different individuals start up a weekend to meet and share ideas and working alongside each other. The process was known for its effective output, which led to some large organizations also develop and use the creative space. The founder of Space Cube organization was Brody Mullich, state that private, non-profit organizations and government agencies encourage their staff to join the Scapes Group for such reasons, such as team will bring what they learn from being located in the creative space back into the larger organization, thus commencing a culture shift over time, enhancing staff members' professional development and inspiration in new directions. Enable employees to approach problem solving in a more creative and innovative way than before.
The first question. Discuss the problems for virtual workers of telecommuting and identify ways of how virtual employers address them. The first problem, which is losing out the opportunity to share ideas and cannot gain promotion. This problem goes when you work from home, such as Esther, where she feels herself isolated and cannot cooperate with her co-worker, and that is where she misses the opportunity to discuss and share ideas or knowledge where she was working below her potential and could have applied for other jobs and gained promotion if she had not been working at home. The second problem, social isolation and loneliness. For remote workers, loneliness and social isolation leads to poor income for physical and mental health and productivity. Social isolation is an objective lack of social relationships or infrequency of social contact. Loneliness is a subjective feeling of isolation. A person can be socially isolated but not feel lonely. A person can also feel lonely when they are surrounded by people. Social isolation and loneliness are significant drawbacks to working away from the main work environment, where you feel yourself separated and remotedness, and that is where you're feeling boring and cannot concentrate on your working. Sometimes, especially when you have personal problems where you may need your co-worker to talk with for making yourself happy. When we look at the hierarchy of need by Maslow, this problem is in line with this theory as it drives or motivates workers in the organization and fulfill their need. One of the stages of this theory, which is social need, which means that all employees in the organization, especially those who work from home, should socialize with others. Like in the case study, Esther was feeling isolated and loneliness, and that is where she does not socialize with others in the workplace. So this theory reminds us that social need was very important as it motivates and fulfills the need of workers. The last problem, conflicts between work and home life demand. This drawback is commonly occurred when you work from home, as there will be many issues or tension arise between yourself and your family members, especially when you have lots of kids and no one is able to look after your kid. So you have to concentrate on your work and also to look after your kid. This may cause stress to yourself because the more you spend your time with your kid can affect your time to concentrate on work. Not only your kid, but if there's a conflict occurred at your home between your house members, this may affect you during your work and your home life demand. Here are some solutions for the problems I have mentioned. The first solutions of losing out the opportunity to share ideas and cannot gain promotion is when the virtual employer creates Zoom meeting or video app to regularly touch base with teammates and carry out shared tasks like meeting or the daily stand-up. Sets up a group chat for sharing team success and casual conversation. And consider using instant messaging instead of email. Email may still be a method of choice, but instant messaging is faster, more personal, and more effective at building team relationships. The second solution for social isolation and loneliness is for employers and team leaders. Strengthening bonds and connectedness between remote team members and co-located team members can help reduce turnover and improve team collaboration by building relationships such as workshop events in order for remote workers to get involved and included in the events. This solution can be effective to employees who work from home as they can be part of the events and have fun with others, where it can erase the feeling of loneliness. The last solution of conflicts between work and home life demand is when the employer has to rent or build an office for his workers quiet far from the work or resident. This can reduce or lessen the conflicts between worker and the family. Or in other ways, the employee has to be separated with his or her family in order to concentrate on their work and also to not involve in family matters, because that can also affect his performance at work. So when the employee has his own office, she or he can feel comfortable without distracting with the kid or the family.
The second question is, in your opinion, would it be possible for organizations to create their own co-working spaces within traditional organizations? Yes, it is possible. However, there are some challenges that the company will face in getting people to use the co-working space. One of them is lack of privacy. Some employees didn't like to share their ideas with others, while some embarrassed to share their ideas, especially when they were not sure about what they have to share. However, adapting co-working spaces can cause lack of privacy to employees as they are expected to share their ideas in the co-working spaces. The second challenge is shared ideas can be unfair. It can be unfair in a way that can benefit those who didn't share their ideas but listening to others' ideas. Sharing idea is the same as giving someone more knowledge. For example, software company is a place where employees like to compete on their capabilities or performances, as they are known as ideas specialists. The next challenge is there are no good consequences for them as the result of their actions. When they share their ideas, there's no rewards that provided for them. Sharing technology skills can only broaden others' knowledge. The people who are listening to your thoughts will gain more knowledge, but you will gain nothing. Those who get more promotions are the ones who have more capabilities or performances in the organization, not those who share the most. Finally, creating co-working spaces is likely to be noisy and distractions. Their discussion and also their sounds that comes from their keyboards when they type can also disturb others or their colleagues.
To move on to the next question, as we are now identify some other ways that we believe the organization can do to help their telecommuting workers from feeling excluded and isolated even though they are not physically come into work every day. So the first was the organization must offer extra policy for cultural mental health discussion such as counseling as part of a benefits package. Because mental issue can arise if a person had not been making contact with another person or interact with people in a long time. In such case, like Esther mentioned in the case study, she come in a stage that her mental health is affected after working for a long time alone in her home. She knew that she cannot keep on working alone, so she looked for other options. Therefore, if her organization provide her with benefit package like providing her own counselor, she would not feel left off. The second was to create in-person meetup to its employees. Here, the organization have to give its employees that work from homes the opportunity to meet up with their department members so that they will not feel excluded by their department. Also, according to the practical guides titled Teleworking during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond, a case study titled the Directorate General for Administration and Public Employment in Portugal also show how stressed the workers when they shift to remote working system, as only a few months after they've been working remotely, many sign up to go back to work in the workplace. So if the organization take this into consideration, it will be helpful for the workers to have time to share and help each other on their different tasks. The next or the last one is setting up events, at least one in a year, like a Christmas party. Because workers have been working every year at their different homes, it's a good idea to unite all workers to interact and celebrate their hard working every year. Like in the case study, there were no mention about Easter went to a company events like this to reunion with her colleagues, and I think that's the reason she also feel left out or excluded. Thank you.
To conclude, working at home through internet has caused a lot of problems to virtual workers like Esther, such as they can't gain promotion, puts a lot of pressure upon employee and increased loneliness, in which they can all be solved by using Zoom meeting or video call, creating workshops by employers and rent one office by employers for their employees that is far from their home. Co-working spaces are possible to be created by organization, but it can bring challenges to the company such as lacking of privacy, shared ideas can be unfair, no good consequences for them as the result, and it was likely to be noisy and distractions. Since isolation is the most common problem in the telecommuting organization, the organization trying to identify other ways that could help their workers not to feel loneliness while working from home, such as counseling to keep them in good conditions, create in-person meetup for employees, creating party for the whole organization, and so forth. To recommend, the organization must encourage more its workers to work face-to-face rather than working from home through the internet. The organization who adapts the telecommuting as part of their system should prioritize their employees' needs so they will not feel excluded.
That's all from us. Are there any questions? If no, thank you for your time and stay safe.